James, I'll send you the invite. And James is part of a wonderful group, a very funny group called Hamlet Isn't Dead. And if you've ever checked out their content, what James,
Hey, how are you?
how you doing, my friend?
I'm very well. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's been quite a while since I've seen you.
Yes. Yeah, you know what? I mean, it's been a while since we've seen anybody, right? We've had about
That's
a year. I think it's been about a year and a half.
yeah. It's right around that. I think the last time I saw you guys doing your stuff was a little bit before the whole coronavirus pandemic set in. So yeah, and you guys were doing some content at that time.
Yeah.
You guys were in the period of time that there was the coronavirus closures. You guys were presenting some really interesting content. But before I get into that, I'll just step back for a second and explain or ask you to explain what Hamlet Isn't Dead is all about. And I love your tagline. You're always the some kind of hundredth, the
Yeah.
648th best Shakespeare
I
group in New
think
York.
right now, I think we probably gained a few rankings because probably
Oh,
there's a lot of companies that that closed in the pandemic. So I think right now we're probably like the 37th best Shakespeare-related
oh,
theater company in New York. But I think
great.
that might change by next week when we open our show. I think people are coming back, so I think that it just depends on when you get us.
I think you're going to break into the top 20. I think so. I think
We'll
so.
see. We'll see. I mean, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
All right. So tell us about Hamlet Isn't Dead.
Yeah, so Hamlet Isn't Dead. I don't. I imagine there's a lot of people on here. Actually, it's fun to be here and see all the crossover. Shakespeare Exchange. We've had a lot of crossover in actors. There's, I was just looking up Winter's Tale and seeing some of our old alumni and doing stuff like that. But so we all know each other, and I think it comes out of a very common start, which is so David Laws, who is a drunk Shakespeare actor, and my best friend from back home, and I were jobbing actors, moved to the city. We started a Shakespeare company to do stuff in the meantime, and discovered that was sort of a lot more fulfilling than going out on auditions every day. And so that was, I guess, 7 or 8 years ago now. And our mission with Hamlet Isn't Dead is to work our way through the Shakespearean canon in chronological order in which they were written. So we are now up to Measure for Measure, which is number 25 in our list. And it opens next week on Monday.
That's fantastic. So you guys are 25 productions deep?
That's right. We're
I
25
can't
productions deep.
believe it.
We cheated a little bit early on. Like we did Henry VI parts
Hmm.
1 through 3 in rep. We did a couple other ones in rep. We conflated Henry IV 1 and 2. But still 25. I mean, it's crazy. We're two thirds of the way through, depending on who you ask.
That's yeah. Depending on all the questions about
Yeah.
some of the apocrypha, but
Yeah.
from what I've seen of your group, you guys are a very humorous group, and you guys have a very self-effacing way about yourself
Well, we
about
try.
the 640 whatever the and you had all kinds of different funny things about the way you approach social media and the way you approach your promotion. But when it gets down to it, when you guys are on the stage, you guys are fantastic. You guys do really wonderful stuff on stage.
Yeah, I think one of our main ethos that I can't really take credit for this. This is mostly David's thing, but our idea is that all Shakespeare is funny until it's not, right? And I think that holds true for a lot of shows. I think that tends to lead us in a lot of good directions, right? Particularly, I'll talk about that for Measure in a little bit, but I think that one of the issues that we have when we go and see shows, especially when they're the heavier ones, is that you can be sitting there for 2 and 3 hours, and like it just feels like work, right? It feels like eating your vegetables, and I every now and again I can have a vegetable and really enjoy it, but not 3 hours of vegetables, and so you need a
Right.
little bit of chocolate in the middle, and so like I think that. I think that's really where we came from. We also, part of that sort of humorous thing is we really want to connect. I think we've all been sort of alluding to this so far, is we want to connect with audiences where they are. It's not like we're not preaching to them. We're not showing them this like eloquent, sort of ancient, archaic art form. We want to show them that it's fun, like everybody said, and it's universal. And so part of that humor is also we've developed this additional style, which is we have modern music throughout every show. Almost always an onstage band. When possible, there are characters in the show, and so that's another huge part of our ethos that sort of lends itself. So, our goal is that a night to a Hamlet Isn't Dead show is going to feel very, it's very signature. It's very on brand, right? You're going to laugh. You're going to have a good time. There are, depending on the show, there's going to be some moments of pathos and moments of catharsis and things like that. Those are really important, and it's really important like we are truthful with those, but at the same time, we want people to go and know they're going to have just a good night out at the theater, right? There's going to be some good music,
Absolutely.
and there's going to be some laughs, and there's going to be some good times.
Now, a few months back during the coronavirus, I think I spoke to David about this a few months
That's
back.
Right.
You guys did a kind of like an exploration of which show was it? It was
That was Timon of Athens.
Timon of Athens, right,
Yep.
right. And
So
it was like the behind the scenes, right?
yes, and that was really fun and good. One of the, as everybody sort of walked through when they're doing, when the coronavirus sort of crashed everybody's plans, is, we had this whole idea for Timon, right? That was at the start of our sort of school year, as it were. And so we did this with our resident acting company. And but then, I think a lot of companies did this. We ran into a lot of, just regulations and things about like how much can we stream, how much can we do whatever. And so we had this, that project, morphed and changed throughout the whole thing. And we ended up with this really cool thing, which is this sort of just behind the scenes of this workshop that we ended up doing about Timon of Athens. The other thing about doing the works in chronological order is that it does sort of force you to do the ones that aren't, that don't have a diamond on every single page, right?
Right.
Timon of Athens being one of those. Not that it's bad.
Right.
I think what we normally discover by the end of producing each play is that, it's still Shakespeare, right? It's still, even the worst plays by Shakespeare are still very, very good. And there's some always really good stuff in it that we never realized before we do it. But, I think that, Timon of Athens is another one of those. Timon of Athens is never gonna, be a blockbuster movie, right? So we have to do something like, you have to work with what you got.
Yeah, well, what you did, I think, was very innovative and very different, and it was fun to get into the heads of yourselves and the actors as you explored that text. And then after that, you went into, I think it was like a puppet play with Hamlet, right?
Yes, and so that one, we had our whole last season was very experimental. We had, as everybody did, I think people are mentioning this as well, but we had this collision of the pandemic and a civil rights movement all at the same time. And so actually one of the outcomes of that for us was that we, instead of doing our typical mission after Timon, we sort of took a break for a year, and we worked on what we called the series Contemporaries of Color. And so that was trying to find other art forms, specifically not Shakespearean, but maybe that were contemporaries of Shakespeare or things like that. And so we dabbled a little bit in some various art forms. So one of those was no theater, but Karagaz, and I'm actually kicking myself, I'm drawing a blank here. It's a specific Turkish puppetry style. And I think it might be called Karagaz puppets, but I can't remember. The Karagaz is the main character of this puppetry style. And we actually happened on this show, this amazing director who works out of DC, and who had written this show called Karagaz's Dreams of Hamlet, right? And it's fantastic. It's that character from Turkish puppetry, but he sort of performs the title role of Hamlet with his mates, and it really was sort of an extraordinarily lucky discovery. We found this show, and it also happened to involve this live music. It happens to be very funny, and it really worked well. It's a two-dimensional medium, so we really felt like we had sort of lucked into a medium that was both virtual and connected to Shakespeare and connected to Hamlet Isn't Dead, and still sort of fulfilled the mission. So incidentally, that we thought that was so successful, we are actually commissioning sort of a rewrite of that, and we are going to put that on again this December, I think, or either December or January, so upcoming this winter. So Karagaz's Dreams of Hamlet's going to come back. We're really excited about that because it was so successful.
The return of that. But then we're here at now what you're doing right now, and that is
That's
Measure
right.
for Measure. So tell us about that.
So Measure for Measure opens this Monday. Like everybody's saying, we're sort of dipping our toe in the water of getting back to live theater. We're really excited about doing it. This is a show that we cast exclusively out of our resident acting company. As part of our mission, like I said last year, based out of the Black Lives Matter movement and all these other, trying to do our best to be honest and forthright about being inclusive. We expanded our rack and with the idea that we're trying to include all these other voices. And so as part of that mission, we cast exclusively from that resident acting company for this show. So we're starting it on this Monday, and it's actually got a weird run. It's Monday through Friday, starting this Monday. And it's pay what you will. We're more interested in getting back into the swing of doing shows than we are about sort of we have any pretension about making any money in this one, right? We got to get back to it. We got to see if people are willing to come to theater. So far, people are booking tickets, which is great. But I think that we're just excited to get back in the room with people. As other folks have said as well, we're sort of adjusting it a little bit. We've got our COVID safety monitor. It's very important. And also, we're changing the seating arrangement a little bit. Folks are going to be spread out throughout the theater. We're capping it at way below, maybe I think it's 50% or less in the room, so people can feel safe. We're requiring vaccinations, all that stuff. But I think that for us, that theater in the round feeling, that intimate space. We're back at El Barrio Art Space where we've worked for a long time before. And so that's up on 99th Street at the end of the queue. And it does really feed into the Hamlet Isn't Dead ethos, right? So doors are going to open at 7:15 for live music and a little bit of comedy. We're going to have some stand-up comedy pre each show, just to spice it up a little bit.
A warm-up act.
That's right. And then the show will start at 7:30 each night and runs for about 2 hours.
That's fantastic. All right. Well, I love your group. I think you guys are doing a lot of fun stuff, and I love your commitment to broadening your perspectives and adding to the resident acting company. I'm sure you guys are going to do fantastic work starting next Monday, the 18th. Where can people go, James, to get tickets?
Yeah, best way to go is just hamletisn'tdead.com. That's Hamlet, ISNT, isn't dead.com. Or you can find us on Facebook, Hamlet Isn't Dead, on or on Instagram, et cetera, all those places. And like I said, pay what you will. Just book your ticket in advance so we can know how many chairs to put out.
All right, fantastic. All right, James. Well, we wish you the best of luck with the Measure for Measure, and I hope to see you guys soon. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Thanks. Have a good one.
All right, and that was James Rightmyer Jr. from Hamlet Isn't Dead, who are moving up. They're moving up significantly. They were the 647th best Shakespeare group in New York, but now they're in the top 40. So they're really moving up the charts.